Welcome to Ringsiders. I'm Callum McInnes. Would say I'm joined by Jamie, but unfortunately he's having technical difficulties. Nothing new there. And this week's guest is a storyteller, an investigator. You might have seen him on the CW. You might have seen him on a special presentation of Ancient Aliens. You might have heard him on Talk is Jericho. That's one thing I learned today. And you've probably listened to his award-winning podcast, Somewhere in the Skies. Ryan Sprague, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, man, and welcome to the Black T-shirt, Black Hat Club, everybody.
Brilliant, right?
Yeah, we showed up, and we showed up. We really
completely unintentional as well. I love it. The Men in Black.
Yeah, exactly. Appropriate. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Not a problem. Like I said, I'm a big fan of your show. This is a kind of a bucket list interview for me, if I'm honest. It's
wow.
You're someone that I've watched more from the UAP side of things. I've watched your show for a few years now, and then found out about Somewhere in the Ring, which you can see behind you. And you've also got your wrestling belt to your right. Fantastic. This is, big wrestling fan too. And I followed your personal Twitter. I followed Somewhere in the Skies, and then I remember seeing you post about wrestling. And I thought, holy shit, this guy's like got all of my interest in common. Like, I need to speak to Ryan. Like, usually you find someone who's interested in UAPs or wrestling, never both. So,
it's a match made in heaven, a true match made in heaven, right?
That's one thing I'll talk to you about as well, the similarities between the communities, because they can be both the best communities and the worst communities to be a part of. And I feel like we're part of both of them. And wrestling fans can be great. They can also be the worst fans in the world. And same with UAP and disclosure. Like, it's great to look into these, these cases and these stories, but then you have a differing opinion to someone and you're the worst person ever. And they'll come at you on Twitter. Have you found that there's like a bit of a connection between those two communities as well and how they both interact with you?
Absolutely. The internet wrestling community, the ICW, is that what they call them?
IWC.
Right? Yeah. IWC. There we go. It's very similar, man. Like, but I used to disparage the UFO Twitter community for being like that until I really stepped outside of it and started looking at all these other communities that are on Twitter, that are on the internet. I sound like I'm 80 years old. And it's the same thing, every community has their faults, has their problems, has their infighting. And when it comes to passion, I have not found more passion than when it comes to UFOs and wrestling.
You hit the nail on the head. It's all about passion, really, isn't it? It's not that they're just toxic. They're just very passionate about, like, if you've got a favorite wrestler or a favorite promotion, they're very passionate about it. If you're on the side of a believer in the UAP community, you're very passionate and you want to get your point across. You don't want people to debunk your stuff. And on the flip side, if you're a debunker, you want to be able to passionately debunk something. So it's like a melting pot of, like you said, passion and interest. And as much as I say, like, they can be toxic, I love being part of the communities too. Every single day I'm on Reddit or I'm on Twitter and I'm engaging with these people. I know I often on Twitter say, oh God, I hate the wrestling community. I do sometimes, but I don't. I don't know what I'd do without it, to be honest. I like knowing that I'm with my people on Twitter, and these are my people, even if I disagree with them. We've got so much in common. And like I said with you at the start of the show, I feel like we could go out for a beer. I've never met you in person, and we'd have a lot to talk about.
Absolutely, man. And that's what it really comes down to. These communities that you and I are a part of, they have a lot to do with belief too, belief in UFOs, belief that wrestling can be real. And you go talking about wrestling to the everyday person and they're going to think you're a 12-year-old. Same with UFOs. And I love that, like, people, I don't know your age. I'm not going to ask you your age, but people my age, when I tell them, like, I am a UFO researcher, it used to be that they would laugh at you and be like, dude, get a real job. And same with if you liked wrestling. It's like, hey, come back to the real world for a minute here. Like, that's all make-believe.
The real world's boring. I'd rather be it's boring. I like my sport to be fake, like wrestling, and I like my world to be as exciting as possible. I love the idea that there could be aliens on Earth. There could be these men in black or reptilian overlord. You know what I mean? I like, as much as I like logic and debunking things sometimes, I like the idea that there's so much that I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what interests me. And from what I know about you, Ryan, doing my research, you're very similar in the sense that you like being able to explain things, but you also love the unexplained. And that started from a young age, I believe, when you were a teenager with a UAP sighting.
Yes.
And I want to know more about that sighting. I didn't look too much into it on purpose because I want to ask you how it happened for you. I love hearing about UAP sightings, and I've got so many I'll share with you on this episode. But I
Awesome.
want to hear yours. I want to hear what got you into it. When you saw it, what was that feeling where you thought, right, I need to do this. I need to look into this more. How did that happen?
Yeah, sure. So this happened back in 1995, and I was on a weekend getaway with my family. We used to go up to this really nice river in central New York in the US.
Hmm.
And, I would fish. I was, even at age 12, I again was like an 80-year-old. I'm out there fishing, until the sun went down. And I distinctly remember I was listening to my portable CD player at the time, a Discman, I guess they
Yeah.
would call it. Yeah, and Green Day was on. I was listening to Basket Case, the album Basket Case, and I specifically remember the song when this UFO event happened, and it was the song Basket Case on the
Right.
Dookie album. That sticks with me until this day. I can't like listen to that song without connecting it to this profound moment in my life, and it truly was profound. What I first saw, man, was I was reeling my line in. It was dark, so I was going inside to watch a New York Yankees game with my dad,
Hmm.
and I look in the water. It was the St. Lawrence River, and there was a dock outside. And I look in the water, and I could see white lights in the water. I'm like, what the heck? Is there something in the water? Like, is that a submarine? Like, what is going on here? So I bend down and I look in the water, and of course, I'm like, Ryan, it's a reflection. So I flip over on my back and I'm looking straight up at the sky, and that was it. I mean, I saw a perfect white lighted triangle, like an equilateral triangle,
Okay.
one white light on each point, red light in the middle, this kind of prototypical triangular UFOs, they call them.
Hmm.
And, I didn't see like a machine, like a, actual,
Just the
like
light.
just the lights, the perfect formation.
Yeah.
But what struck me, man, was I couldn't see like the stars or anything. The stars, the clouds, the moon. I couldn't see anything behind the formation. So I assumed it was a structured
Okay. Yeah.
object of some sort. And it was just hanging there in the sky, completely silent, no noise whatsoever. And I just again, I was 12 years old. Like
Yeah.
I was no aviation expert, but I knew it wasn't just like a
Not
plane.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not normal. And I don't know if it was like fight or flight or whatever, but I was frozen. I couldn't move. I'm just staring up at it, laying on my back, and I'm trying to yell to my dad. And I don't know. Like, I can't really explain the feeling or why I couldn't, but I couldn't get any vocalization out. I
Yeah.
was trying to. And then finally, I get like this 12-year-old, prepubescent squeal out. And my dad comes running out of the motel we were staying at. He thought I fell in the water. So he like runs to the dock and he sees me laying there looking up. So
Mhm.
he looks up, and then we both watched this black triangle
So your
UFO.
dad saw it too.
My dad saw the UFO with me, which
Oh,
I feel so fortunate for, like, to have another witness there with me.
yeah.
But it was also a curse because I finally got up and we're just staring at it. Neither of us said a word, and I'm watching his face. And that is what hit me more than like the actual UFO. It was watching my dad's face go from like curiosity to just like being dumbfounded,
Right.
and just his mouth wide open looking up. And finally, I'm like, "What is it? What is it?" And he's like, "I don't know." And oh my God, dude. Like it just Ugh.
So cool. I mean, 12 years old. I can't imagine being 12 years old and seeing that. I think it's really cool you got to see it with your dad. And for two reasons. Seeing a UFO with your dad, that's just cool anyway. But also having a witness, like you said, because if that was just you seeing that and then you told your dad and friends and family, they'd say, oh, he's 12, active imagination, you know? But when your dad sees it and he's dumbfounded, they have to believe you.
Yeah,
Did
and
people believe you when you told them?
so the only people that we told about this event was the manager of the hotel. The next morning, we went in and we were like, "Hey, we saw something really strange over the motel, over the water last night. Like, did anyone else see anything?" And he's like, "Oh, you mean like a UFO?" And we were like, what? Like it, and mind you, man, like I wasn't into UFOs at this point. I
Yeah.
was in Power Rangers, baseball. Maybe I was starting to like girls at the time. I don't remember, but like no UFOs whatsoever. And when he said that, I'm like a alien? And it was just like it blew my mind. He's like, "Yeah, people see that kind of stuff around here all the time." And I was like, "Whoa." My mom, we told her, she laughed about it at family gatherings. I would bring it up. My dad never. And that's a big part of this. My dad never brought it up again after that night until like 20 something years later. I'll get to that.
Right.
But I learned to shut up pretty quick because once I told my friends, it was just endless making fun of me, man. Like,
Really?
yeah, just like, oh, you like, yeah, you got abducted by aliens, like this, that, blah, 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 blah. The stigma and ridicule was real
Yeah.
back in the 90s for sure. And
Yeah. You didn't
yeah,
I mean, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that in the 90s we had no shortage of alien movies and anything about, UFOs and aliens. We had like Independence Day, Men in Black, and all that kind of film come out. So I reckon if you'd have said like, "Oh yeah, I saw a UFO," they'd be like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. That's just in movies. You're crazy." And the fact that your dad saw it as well, like I said, and you mentioned he didn't mention it.
yeah.
I find that interesting. Was that for a reason? Would your dad usually say like be telling people stories and was there a reason that he didn't tell this one?
Mhm. Yeah, so he's a pretty, I don't want to say reserved guy, but
Mhm.
he doesn't really talk unless it something has to be said.
A
And I've
man's
always,
man. Yeah.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
always respected that about him. I,
Yeah.
I honestly do. Like he's a sociable guy around his friends and whatnot, but like he's not gonna go out of his way to like tell people he saw a UFO. And what I think it really was is he didn't want to scare me, to be completely honest, when I was younger.
Okay.
And I think he was scared. Like, again, we went through the checklist. I mean, a blimp, a plane coming in for like an emergency landing, like any of that stuff. Nothing came up. And I just, it was weird, man, because what I did is I held it in for a very, very long time
Hmm.
until and we can get into it, like how I kind of really got into quote unquote ufology.
Hmm.
But it wasn't until 2017 that I finally sat down at a bar in New York with my dad and talked about this event again. And it was all because of what happened in 2017. UFOs seemingly went mainstream
Yep.
with this New York Times article that came out, and we learned about the secret Pentagon UFO programs and these people coming out of the woodwork who apparently worked for the programs. UFOs were now legitimate. UFOs were now credible in a sense. And I think it took that for my dad to finally be like, oh my God, this stuff's real and we might have seen it.
Yeah.
So that was a cool moment for me. Some 28, 29 years later.
So what I'll do is I was gonna say I'll share my story, but I think
Yeah.
based on what you've said, I want to share my mum's story because I think you'll find this interesting now. My mum's UFO story is the most interesting first-hand account of a UFO I've ever heard in my life, and yours ties in perfectly with it. So my mum was walking home once. This was when I was about 2 years old, so going back about 34 years now, and she was walking home from the shop, dark. said out the corner of her eye, she was very aware of a bright light to her right. And we was only talking about this maybe 2 weeks ago, and she even drew it for me because I was like, I was asking her all these questions like I was interviewing her about it, and she drew it for me. And she looked, and there was two boomerangs, like this in the sky, silent, hovering in the sky, bright white dots, five dots, two on the side, one in the middle, in a triangle boomerang shape. And there was two of them hanging there quietly,
Mm.
and they weren't moving. And she said that it felt like they were watching just her. And my mum, I can't stress enough how I trust my mum more than anybody in the world. It's not something she'd even consider making up. So I know that my mum saw this regardless of whatever it was. And she said, as she was walking, they stayed silent in the air, hovering, but then they started to move, and there was nothing. There was no sound, nothing. And as she got to the house, there were. She said it was hard to tell how high up they were because she had no idea how big they were.
Mhm.
But she, like you said, there was no sky in between the lights. So she took it that it was a solid object, and these were just lights on the object. And she went to get my dad, and in the 30 seconds that she went to get my dad and came back out, they were completely gone.
Ah,
And she did call the police. She did call, I can't imagine there was a UFO society at that time. This is going back a bit, but she did do some calling around, and a couple of other people did see something that night as well. We've tried tracking down the actual case number and everything, but it's so hard to do. And to this day, my mum still gets goosebumps when she talks about it. And like you said, she was too scared to shout for my dad when she got to the door. She had
right.
to go in and said, come outside," and looked up and there was nothing there. And it's very flat in Hull. You can see from miles. There was nothing in the skies, nothing at all. And my mum and dad have had so many UFO encounters in Anlaby, which is just outside of Hull. We think it's like kind of a UFO hotspot. I've seen one there. My mum and dad have seen two or three there as well. And that to me, I just had to mention it because with you saying you saw a bright white triangle that hovered and didn't make any sound, my mum saw the exact same thing.
Whoa.
Ryan, what is that? What are these triangles that are everybody's seeing? And I mean, it could even have been around a similar time that you saw yours.
Right.
That sounds a bit. Yeah, if we're going back a bit, it could be a similar time. What are these sightings? I mean, I don't know anything that, especially that long ago, could do that. Like hover like that and have she said it was the brightest white she'd ever seen in her life. It was brighter than the moon reflecting the sun. It was the brightest thing in the sky. Never seen a white like it since. Have you had any idea what yours could be, or is it still just 100% unexplained?
Unexplained. And at this point, like your mother, I will never truly know what it was,
Hmm.
but what I take comfort in is knowing that people like your mom and
Hmm.
hundreds of others have seen these triangles.
Right.
And the thing that really stuck out to me in the story you told was when your father came out, that's when the thing started moving off.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with my dad. Once we both started looking at it, that's when it started moving. Ours
How
went
weird.
over the water and then disappeared on the other side of the river, which is actually right on the border of the US and Canada. So it became Canada's problem after that. But but yeah, man, like I love that she said that she felt like it was just for her because that's
It
how I felt. It
really.
felt like a display or a performance just for me. And then my dad came in and they were like, all right, we'll show a little bit more leg. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then they were like, all right, we're done. Like we don't need this to be a mass UFO sighting of us. Like we don't want
We've
to.
done enough. We're going.
Yeah,
Oh, cool
exactly.
though. I can't wait to tell my mum tonight. I'll get to watch this video. She's gonna go crazy. She'll be like,
Yeah.
"There's someone else who's seen it."
I believe her. Please tell her that. And there's hundreds of thousands of people who have seen what she saw.
The
And
Phoenix Lights.
the Phoenix Lights.
There we go.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I'm sure you're quite knowledgeable on the Phoenix Lights, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you know your stuff about the Phoenix Lights. What does your gut tell you that what happened that night? What do you think?
So What's interesting about the Phoenix Lights incident, and I'll go through it very briefly for
Yeah.
your listeners who may not be too familiar. 1997, this event happened in Phoenix, Arizona, where hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people witnessed these lights in a perfect V formation, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
um, hover over the city and then eventually disappear. There were airplane pilots at the time who cited this, people on the ground. People caught it on camera. A lot of people caught it on camera. What's interesting about this event is that the Air Force would eventually come forward and say that these were flares that were dropped by a military aircraft. And that's what everyone saw. The
Mhm.
problem with that is that hours and hours before that flare drop actually took place, people were seeing a structured V-shaped craft, not just lights that were separated, but an actual craft over the city, including the governor at the time of Phoenix, who debunked the case when it originally happened. There's a famous press conference
I
where he had
remember
him,
the alien.
yeah, with
Yeah.
the alien head, all that stuff. But then he would come forward many years later and say, actually, I saw it, and that was no flare at all. So, I did investigate it. I went to Phoenix. I interviewed a pilot who'd never come forward before
Mhm.
to talk about seeing it, other witnesses. And the way people describe it, this thing was the size of like 50 F-15 fighter jets. I mean,
Yep.
it was massive. So what it is, man, I can't honestly tell you, but it touched the lives of hundreds of thousands of people throughout Arizona, and it is one of the most credible and documented
It
UFO
is.
cases
Yeah.
of all time. Yeah.
I think that fascinates me about the Phoenix Lights. It might even be one of the ones that got me into ufology. I remember
Yep.
as a kid, I had quite a few books about aliens and UFOs. I still got them now at mom and dad's house, and I remember it had like the typical grey on the front of it, and
Yep.
it used to terrify me, and I couldn't sleep.
I've got that one right behind me. I'm not
Really,
gonna
you know which one I mean, don't
I
you?
will not give you PTSD, man. I promise I won't pull it out during this interview.
Terrifying. The one
Yeah.
with the dark black eyes. Yeah,
Communion.
the
Yeah, I think.
communion. That's the one. Yeah.
Yep. It is literally steps behind me, but I won't do it, I promise.
It's terrifying. I do love the book though, and I used to have other books about sightings, and I'd see the Phoenix Lights, and I thought, when you're a kid, you're just thinking, "What is this?" Like, and then as you get older, it's kind of like with wrestling, tying it back a bit.
Mm.
With wrestling, you get into wrestling, and you find out it's fake, and then you just stick with it, and you think, "Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this for the rest of my life." Same with ufology. I think I got into it and thought, this is weird. I love this. I'm just gonna stick with this, and it's just got weirder and weirder throughout the years.
Yeah, it's
You,
like ufology's kayfabe. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. You used to have like your one or two whistleblowers, like
Mhm.
Bob Lazar and others, and everyone knew Bob Lazar. You know, he was the mainstream whistleblower.
Yep.
He was the Hulk Hogan of
Yeah.
of whistleblowing.
Pop
Everybody
culture icon. Yeah. Yeah.
pop culture icon, absolutely. And then it's become nowadays where you get a new whistleblower every week. It's hard to keep up with these whistleblowers and the claims coming in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, I've got Jake Barber, a David Grush, Michael Herrera, I think it's called.
Hmm. Hmm.
So many people coming out, and I wanted to ask you, like, out of all these whistleblowers, this whistleblower era that we're in now, is there any whistleblower where you think, one, I think you're full of shit, and two, I think you're telling the truth? Is there any that you're really like thinking have a good case?
So for me right now, and I want to make it clear to your audience, I have spoken to several of these whistleblowers off the record.
Yeah,
And I've met with people like Luis Elizondo, the gentleman who came forward and said
amazing.
yeah, I've tip pack beers with a guy in London and Scotland.
I'd love to meet Lou. He seems like a good person.
Super cool, laid back guy. But keeping in mind this guy worked counterintelligence for the
Yeah,
United States has always kept me a little on guard with him. And I think he would respect that
yeah.
because for, decades we've been told that people like him are the problem, that they're the ones lying to us. So when he comes out and says all this stuff, it did surprise me how, myself included,
Mhm.
how many people were just like believing it whole cloth.
Yeah,
It's this
great
weird.
point.
Yeah, it's just this weird thing. And Lou is Lou. I've spoken to him since all these congressional hearings and stuff. Again, nice guy. Do I believe everything he says? No. And
No,
I don't think anybody should.
no.
Um, as for the other whistleblowers right now, some of them I don't buy a
Mhm,
lot of it. Others I think they believe what they have seen, they believe what they have heard, and they are genuine in what they are coming forward with.
mhm.
And I am not going to take that away from them. The one for me that I just can't just dismiss, and who I honestly believe um, does have a lot of the information that we've been seeking and could potentially get that out to the public, is David Grush. I honestly do.
I agree
Uh,
with you. Yeah, I
yeah,
completely agree on both answers. Lou Elizondo, for the reason you stated, where he basically said, I used to do this for a job, counterintelligence, and, I can't imagine he'd be surprised if many people don't believe him. But
yeah,
there's things that he says where I'm just like, I maybe not crazy, but like, that's far fetched. But then I also think, wow, yeah, like that makes sense. It is 50-50 for me. But
yep,
David Grush, when I listen to him, I'm just like I'm usually quite a good judge of character, and when people the body language and everything, I just listen to him and I think you've definitely been told something,
yeah,
whether or not it's true. Like that, I think they recently said that it was a hazing ritual, and they
yeah.
would say, yeah, of course we told him that we were doing a joke. It was just a bit. Sure, you were.
Yeah. That this what you're talking about was a two-part series by the Wall excuse me, the Wall Street Journal
Yep.
that just came out. And I spoke to the author of the articles,
Okay.
again off the record. But he the one thing he wanted the UFO community to know is I'm not out to debunk the UFO topic. I'm not out
Mhm.
to like pour, rain on your guys' parade. This is what I was told. I was reporting on what I was told.
Yeah.
And this is what we were told is going on, and we reported it. Uh, that's the problem, though. They're basically saying that everything pre 2017, post 2017, New York Times bombshell articles, all of it has been faked by the United States government, and in particular the Air Force. They're
Right.
fake videos, fake photos, all these whistleblowers and stuff. They were told these things as a joke. That might have happened once or twice, man. Maybe
It will
like,
have done. It will
yeah,
happen. Sure. I can imagine
absolutely.
that happening for sure.
Yeah,
But how convenient that it's with one of the biggest names in whistleblowing history. Like you've got Bob Lazar, you've got David Grush.
yeah.
And before David Grush, we hadn't really had one for a long time. And then the first one to pop back up with some really good claims, like, no, that was a joke. We told him that, nothing to see here. It's just a little too convenient for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem with this topic, and it always has been, and it's frustrating.
Mhm.
As frustrating as wrestling can be
Yeah.
sometimes when the baby face doesn't win that match. In the UFO field, it's like you don't know who to believe. You don't know what's real, what's not. The disinformation is often sandwiched in a truth. And then that's the way it's always meant to have happened.
Yeah.
I think the true UFO cover up did occur when the Army Air Corps became the U.S. Air Force, and they immediately covered up the 1947 Roswell UFO incident. Right there was the cover up. One day they said, we captured a flying saucer. The next day they retracted and said, just kidding. That was a weather balloon. And then where are we? 2025 with the Air Force saying, just kidding. That was
Yeah.
a hazing ritual. So, dude, like it's been here since the very start of modern ufology, as we call it, kind of
Mhm.
like 1947 and onward. Um, and that's what's always difficult about this topic. It could be exciting, don't get me wrong, when like, I, after I had that meeting with Lou Elizondo in London, I literally watched the guy walk into the front door of the Ministry of Defense building. They didn't stop him. They didn't check for ID. They literally moved aside and let the guy walk right in there. A
Oh,
former U.S. counterintelligence officer
what
walked right
trade?
into the MOD, no questions asked. So I'm like, what is going on here? Was that like a flex, like a power move in front of me?
Regardless. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you've even got that story. This is why I was
Oh,
so
it's hilarious. It's
like,
hilarious.
not only have you got a wealth of knowledge on the UAP subject, but you've met some great people in ufology. Lou Elizondo for one, but the one I'm the most jealous of, because he's my favorite person in ufology, is Richard Dolan. I absolutely think that guy is the best when it comes to this. And you've spoken to Richard a fair few times, haven't you? Because
Yes.
I was listening to the omnibus episode of Somewhere in the Skies where you had all your backdated episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I put that on while I was working. It filled about 8 hours of work time.
Yeah. Oh my God. God bless you, man. That was a long one. Yeah.
And that's going back to even when you first started Somewhere in the Skies, isn't it? Like that was quite soon
Yeah.
after you started. So I mean, Richard Dolan, what have you learned from Richard Dolan? I mean, he must have expanded your mind and your horizons in some way. What have you taken away from all those conversations you've had with Richard?
So, first of all, thank you for listening. I
Not a
truly do
problem.
appreciate that. And I have been doing a lot more of these kind of collections, because I have repeat guests on. I've done 450 something episodes. I'm like, it would be cool, like a comic book, to kind of get like the greatest hits or
Yeah.
like theme these things. So I've got the Richard Dolan omnibus, I've got the science and UFOs one, but the Richard Dolan one, going back to that, Richard Dolan was episode 1 of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. He was my first ever guest.
What a first guest.
Oh my God, man. I felt so honored that he was like willing to kind of like do that, like kind of put me on the map, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I felt so nervous asking him to do it, but at that time, I actually had just published my first book with Richard Dolan. He had a publishing company back then. And again, young, naive UFO researcher, I'm like, Richard Dolan, I want to write a UFO book. He was like, okay, cool. What about? And I was like, I don't know, UFOs. And he was like, okay, well, what do you have to say about UFOs that no one else has said? And I had no answer for him. And he said, go home, think about that, and let's circle back on this. And that changed everything for me, man. Richard Dolan changed my life when it came to this topic. Yeah. I went home, and at the time, I was a struggling artist in New York City, a playwright. I'm a trained actor and playwright. My life is, my other life, I should say, besides wrestling and UFOs, is in the theater. That's literally what I went to school. Cool. And I thought to myself, how can I implement my playwriting into my ufology? And that's when I decided, boom, characters. Like that's what I am, quote unquote, an expert at. So let me look at these people in the UFO field, whether it's the researchers or the witnesses, and focus on them instead of like the event, the UFO itself. And I went to Dolan and I said, I think I have it. I want to focus on the impact and the aftermath of a UFO event on a UFO witness. Because again, a play is, you're dropped into the most pivotal moment of someone's life. Otherwise, why are we watching this play? I don't want to watch someone eat their dinner, go to bed, wake up, go to work, do the same thing. I want to see what fundamentally changed for them. And that's what a play is. So
concepts. I love that.
Thank you. And I thought that's what I could contribute to the UFO discussion. And I went to it with Rich and he said, that's awesome. Do that. And I did. And the book became a #1 bestseller. And I decided to start a podcast to continue that discussion about the people who've seen UFOs. And Rich was kind enough to come on for the first episode. And it was off to the races after that, man. And, I do interviews, I do storytelling, but the core of the Somewhere in the Skies podcast is the people who have sightings and come on to tell their own stories. And that's what I think really sets us apart from any other show, really, to be honest.
I'd agree. And you've also got a great community as well on your live streams. I've realized, like,
thank you.
You've got some really engaged viewers, people who tune in every single week. And I think it's just a really good little community you've got that you've built over this time that you've been doing it. Was it 2017, did you say that you started?
Yes, that's correct.
2017. Yep. So it's, I mean, that's 8 years. Yeah, that's how long we've been doing Ringsiders. So
nice.
We both decided to get into podcasting the same year.
I love it. Love it. Yeah. Another thing we have in common.
Another thing we've got in common. Yeah. When you say playwrights, I mean, do you like musicals as well? Like West End? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like, I'm not a trained musical theater actor. I can carry a tune. Like I'll be honest with you. I I lived in New York for 13 years. I used to go to those like cliche auditions where thousands of people would wait in line. They'd be like, "You next, cut, blah blah blah." And I actually made it pretty far for a Broadway musical called Spring Awakening.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It played on the West End a couple times now as well. Um, Really cool kind of rock musical that takes place back in like, gosh, I don't even remember the time period. Maybe like the late 1800s in Germany. But the music was written by Duncan Sheik, the guy who had that like one hit back in the 90s, like I am barely breathing and I can't find the air. Yeah, that guy. Um, he wrote this awesome musical. I love the show. My dream was to be in it, and I made it pretty far. But then I got cut.
I love that though. Like the reason I ask is so I was like, right, you like ufology, you like wrestling, started a podcast in 2017.
Yep.
I love musicals. I'm a big musicals guy. So I
Nice.
was wondering, do you like musicals? Given that you've done theater and stuff like that.
I do.
Good. I'm glad you
Yeah.
do. Well,
I'm a
definitely,
big proponent. I worked on Broadway too, actually, for
you worked
10
on
years.
Broadway.
Yep, yep. Yeah. So I'm in the industry. I have a huge respect for musical theater writers and actors and singers. But I'm a play guy. Like
You're a
I
play guy.
I write
Okay.
plays. Yeah, yeah.
You multi-talented. I mean, like
I
yeah,
try.
playwriter. I mean, alone would be a good enough job, but like having one of the best podcasts in the ufology sphere and doing all these other little side projects that you've got going on. How do you find time to do that? Like, I struggle with just doing Ringsiders one
Yeah.
episode every couple of weeks. How do
Dude,
you find the time to research ufology, which is a full-time job?
it
How
is.
do you do that?
Uh to my fiance's dismay. For
Okay.
sure. Yeah, and my family and my friends. No, it's like anything in life. You just got to try to find a balance, and I can't pretend that I've fully found that balance
Yeah.
yet. I stumble like anyone else. Like, with a podcast, you don't just push record,
No.
do it and then put it out. There's a lot that goes into it. And I do a weekly show, and that's a lot of work. So, I have kind of started to be able to turn on wrestling Ryan, and then UFO Ryan, and then real life Ryan. But I mess up a lot, and they bleed into one another
I
a
realized
lot. Yeah.
SummerSlam weekend when you were educating people on Somewhere in the Skies about wrestling, and you were
Yeah.
saying, "I don't know how long I'm going to be on this stream. I'm going to be
SummerSlam,
on
babe.
SummerSlam tonight," yeah, and then educating about why it's a big deal. And I was like, "Oh,
Yep.
my worlds are blending together. Fantastic." Uh, Before we switch gears to wrestling, there's a couple of UAP questions I want to ask you.
Yeah.
First one I'm interested in: if you could choose any of the cases, the sightings or the stories in ufology, and find out straight away if it's true or false, if it really happened or if it was fake, which case are you choosing?
Wow. Who? You know, The easy one would be Roswell, because again,
Mm,
it's kind of the linchpin of ufology. There's a UFO researcher named Nick Redfern who basically says, if we were to definitively prove or disprove what Roswell was, like all of ufology would crumble
hmm.
from whatever that answer is. I agree to that to an extent, but just like anything, like these cases, they don't live in a vacuum. Like they live and breathe their own lives, and one does not negate the other and all that. So, the safe ufologist in me does want to say Roswell, but I think what the one I would have to go to is actually the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident.
Amazing choice. Yeah.
Yeah,
From the UK, Rendlesham's, like our Roswell.
to Roswell. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's the nearest thing we've got. I think that's a great case because, again, I've said this a few times, but what happened that night, all of these stories and accounts of what happened, it just sounds insane. Like if that really happened verbatim, how they say it, that's one of the craziest encounters I've ever heard of.
yeah. December 1980. 3 consecutive nights, military officers, UK and US,
Yeah.
witnessed a craft land in Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk County in the UK. And dude, I still haven't been there. I'm hoping to get there. I live in
Get
the
yourself
UK
there.
presently, and I have no excuse for having not gone there yet. But I highly suggest your viewers and listeners go check out the Rendlesham Forest incident. There's actual audio of the military officers as the event is happening. Like, they had tape recorders and they were recording, saying what they were seeing, and it's terrifying to
That's
listen
what
to
I
these
mean.
things.
It
Yeah,
is terrifying when because you think if this is real, that's yeah,
yeah.
it's
But
nightmare.
what was it? That
What
is the
was
true
it?
question. Yeah.
So that's what you'd go with. You'd find out if Rendlesham Forest was real.
Yeah.
Great answer. Okay, similar vein, but if you could take any case to a hearing right now, we're having all of these UAP hearings. If you were chosen to lead a hearing, just like Lou Elizondo is sometimes, if you could go and be in his shoes, which case are you taking with you to present in that hearing?
The one for me would have to be the Maelstrom Air Force Base incident that happened.
Mhm.
Guy named Robert Salas was working at a nuclear installation in the United States, and a UFO came over the nuclear installation and shut off the weapons, the nuclear
Warhead.
ordnance,
Yeah,
the warheads. Yes,
yeah.
thank you. And that is terrifying in itself until you learn that it's one of dozens of cases throughout the world, not just the
Hmm.
United States, where this has happened, where UFOs were sighted over a military installation and they shut off weapons, or in some cases, even turn them on. So,
Do you
oh boy.
think, okay, let's play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Let's say that is an NHI doing that.
Mhm.
Do you think that's a display of power to say, hey, we can turn these off and on? Or do you think it's them trying to warn us of the effects of nuclear warheads? Because I've heard people, even Lou Elizondo, trying to say, this is actually them being malevolent. This is them trying to display the power. But then I think it was Stephen Greer, maybe, who was saying that it's actually them trying to say don't use these warheads. There's a few
Mm.
people that have commented on it. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it would be a display of power?
I think when it comes to something like this, the perception of the person you're asking can really influence the answer.
Great point.
If you're a pacifist,
Yeah.
I think that you would want to lean towards they're showing that you shouldn't be doing this, and like you can't use nuclear weapons. Like,
That's
nuclear
such a good
power,
point. Yeah.
a different question, but nuclear weapons, that's like you're opening a whole can of worms. Where someone like Lou Elizondo, who worked in a threat identification program, is obviously going to look at it as a possible threat to national
Of course he
security
is.
and
That
all of
makes so
humanity.
much sense.
So,
I think that it
yeah,
would
I don't
play
know.
a power. I think it would be them saying, "Hey, look, these weapons that you've got, these massive weapons, those are your best weapons. We can just turn them on and off whenever we want." You know?
I tend to agree with you, while I do find myself more on the pacifist side.
Yeah.
I do believe it is a show of power, and I if that's their message, then okay. Okay, I think we need to heed that message,
I agree. Yeah.
and again, I think one answer could lead to the other,
Mhm.
in so many words too. Like, maybe if we know that there's something more powerful than our own weapons, they could easily turn it on us or against us,
Mm.
and maybe we shouldn't be using them and stocking these
What
things
a
up.
crazy thought. What a novel concept. Maybe we
Right?
should have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, yeah. Who would have thought, right?
Crazy. Ryan, I like I said, we'll switch gears to wrestling, and this is like a two-part episode. I've realized. Let's
Yeah,
get some wrestling in, but I do want to say now it would be great to get you back on at some point in the future. Um, we're not going to wrap up just yet, but I'd love to speak more UAP stuff as it's happening.
absolutely, man.
I want
Yeah.
to get you back on. We'll get Jamie on and talk about UAPs because he's massively into it as well.
Done, done.
For the wrestling side of the podcast, did you get to see SummerSlam? Did you see both nights?
I did. I was able to watch both nights. Now, I'm now feeling the pain of everyone in Europe of having to watch these things at like
Right.
3 in the morning. Like, we're so spoiled in the US. My co-host of my wrestling pod lives in New York, so like he can easily watch it when it comes on. So, but I did. I stayed up and watched both nights because like you guys, you gotta stay up to date on these things if you want to stay relevant in the
Yeah.
podcasting world of excuse me, I almost said UFOs of wrestling. So, yes, I was able to watch both nights and funny thing, my co-host actually surprised me and didn't tell me that he actually attended night 2 of SummerSlam and kept it from me
How
and
do you
didn't
forget
tell
to
me.
mention that?
It was all so he could get that one moment of good TV on our podcast. And
Oh,
he took a video while he was there of like the ring, and then he turned the camera around slowly on himself.
oh, what
And
a
dude,
reveal.
the look on my face during that episode, you can go back and watch our SummerSlam
That's
episode.
brilliant.
I'm speechless that he kept that from me, but it was all for that one moment of shock.
Would you say
wrestling?
would you say you got to see the better night? Did you prefer night 1 or night 2?
He went to night 2, and I would have to agree. I think almost all the titles were on the line on night 2 of SummerSlam. But I think I'm in the minority. I actually enjoyed the wrestling of night 1
I did.
more.
Yep.
Yeah.
I loved Gun for Punk. I thought it was a
Oh,
classic old school fight. One of my favorite matches in maybe the last decade.
yeah.
I loved every second of it. There's
Yep.
been a lot of complaints from people saying, "Oh, all Gunther did was chop him," and I'm like, "No, no, no! All Gunther needed to do was chop him. That's all
Right.
Gunther needs is the chop. He doesn't need anything else."
Yeah, this guy isn't going off the top ropes, guys. Like,
No,
he
he's not.
knows
He
what
can,
he's good
but he
at.
doesn't. Yeah,
Good point.
yeah.
Good.
I like it. It really showed you how like Punk is 46, 47 now.
Getting
And
up there. Yeah.
yeah, I think he's 46, but it's like he's getting older and he's starting to show that in the ring. He's got these weaknesses. Gunther exploited it, just chopped him down and power bombed him and made him suffer. But as soon as CM Punk tripped him on that table and Gunther saw blood, you know, Punk goes on him like a shark, sees that weakness like in Rocky 4.
Yep.
Beautiful finish. What did you think of the finish to the match?
The match was amazing. Like you said, it was just a old school wrestling match. That's what Gunther does best. I would say that's what Punk does best.
Yeah,
Punk is a very technical wrestler. His match with Drew McIntyre at I think it was Bad Blood is
yeah,
by far one of my favorite matches of. Yeah, you had the weapons gimmick and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it was just a good wrestling match. And that whole main event of night 1, the aftermath of what happened after Punk and Gunther
yeah.
will go down as one of the best works I think in WWE
Agreed.
history, in my opinion.
Even
So,
if people, right, what annoys me is when people say, "Oh, but it was predictable," and I'm like, predictable isn't always a bad thing.
nope.
If it's predictable, but they pull it off well, fine. I
Yeah,
don't mind. And also, I like being worked. I don't mind being the minority, but I like being worked. I like having being unsure on these things and thinking, "Oh, is he really injured or is he not injured?" And I didn't know until when he had the crutches and he pushes him to the side. Until a second before, I had no idea if it was a work, and I love that.
the fact that they can still do that to us, man, all these years later, wrestling
Yeah,
has been around forever. The WWE's been around forever. And the fact that they can still keep us on our toes is what keeps people watching and what keeps people engaged. Like what comes next. It is the longest running, like soap opera, if you want to call
mhm,
it that, in history. And
it is.
that's what I love about it, that we can still be surprised. I stood up, I literally got off my couch and I was like, "You got me.
You
You
got
got
me.
me."
Yeah,
And just like in ufology, these things keep you on your
you
toes.
do.
They
Yeah,
put you back in your shoes and make you more in the moment than ever. And I just remember that moment when he dropped the crutches,
yeah.
Seth Rollins, and ran down to the ring. Like
I
I
got
felt like I
goosebumps.
was, yeah,
Yeah,
goosebumps.
yeah.
I'm like yelling. My fiance is like, what is going on in there? And I loved it, man. It made me feel like I was 12 years old again watching this stuff. And
You
yeah,
can beat wrestling when wrestling's done right. There's nothing better than wrestling.
yep,
It can make you feel every single emotion in one show, sometimes even in one match.
yeah.
And when the cash in, try explaining to somebody who's not a wrestling fan why a man dropping his crutches and running to the ring is a big deal, but to a wrestling fan, like you said, that's one of the coolest cash-ins and maybe ever. I think I might prefer that to the original heist of the century. Where would you
Ooh.
rank it in terms of cash-ins? Would it be your favorite so far?
Yeah, it's definitely in the top 5. I also really enjoyed Naomi's at
So good.
Evolution recently, and they're killing it. They killed both of them this year. I think they were both very successful cash-ins and led to some incredible things. Unfortunately, it seems like Naomi may be injured as we're recording this right now. So wishing her the best, because of course I know she's watching this right now, right?
She's watching
She definitely
Ringsiders
watches
every
both our
week.
shows. Yeah. We laugh, but who knows,
Who
man? Who
knows?
knows? Honestly, you never know who's listening or watching these things. But yeah, definitely in my top 5 for sure. The Punk one, Punk and Seth Rollins. Yeah.
So good. And what I love is that Punk, he finally got his hands on the world championship again. He had tears in his eyes. And as soon as he heard burn it down, he laughed. The look on his face, you really feel for him because he knows in that second, he knows he's lost the world championship already.
Yeah.
He's like, I've just been through a war with Gunther. There's no way out. He knows what's going to happen.
Right. Because a normal person
Yeah.
would get up and run out of the stadium,
Yeah.
but not in wrestling and
Not
not
in wrestling.
CM Punk.
Yeah.
Punk does not run.
He's
And
too
that's what I
proud.
love, man. That's what I
Yeah.
love about it. Like the drama in all of this. Like, no. Yeah, if this were real life, get out of the ring, go hide, whatever. This is WWE. This is wrestling. This is drama. This is theater. And that's why I love it, man. As a playwright, wrestling is theater. It always has been. It always will be. It's more theater than it is sport.
It
And
is.
that's what I love about it. It's I can actually like enjoy a sport while also enjoying the play.
I was gonna say, I bet you can see it from a different point of view with your playwright mind.
I
Like
do.
when you're watching wrestling, I bet you think like you can see maybe the arcs of the story or the different beats that they're trying to hit.
Yeah.
You'd probably see it from a different point of view. Uh, do you reckon if you were offered the chance, you'd be able to be a writer in professional wrestling?
So I know a couple writers for the WWE.
Mhm.
And I unfortunately can't like ask them about it. I will give you a hint. They have been on our podcast in the past. I'm not going to say who it was, but they are one is currently working for them, one formerly worked for them, and I do talk to them on occasion. I never ask for a scoop. I never ask for what's going on, what they were involved. Nothing. Like I know the boundaries, and they're very professional, and I respect that. But there are times, man, where like something like the Seth Rollins thing happens, and I shoot that text, or I'm about to shoot that text and be like, "Was that you? Was that?" And I'm like, "No, you can't do it. You can't do it." All this to say, I did see a job posting for a WWE writer maybe a month ago,
Mhm.
and I was on that so quick, man.
So
And
you
it's
would do it.
I would do it. And it wasn't even the fact that I was like a wrestling fan. I may have mentioned I had a wrestling podcast I've been watching forever. But I think again, what would stand out about me, like it does in ufology, is my playwriting background. So
Yeah.
I told them, like, I am all about character. I know the arcs. I know the bigger picture, the bigger story that can be told within, your season or whatnot.
Mhm.
Again, I don't know how all of that works with them specifically, but I do think that I could bring something unique to each of these characters, and maybe characters that we don't see so much of. Karrion Kross is the one in the news right now who kind
Yeah.
of got forgive the term, but like shafted and
Yeah.
is leaving the WWE. And he had a good following and people were cheering him on. But the characterization just was not there. And
Agreed.
the things I feel I could do with a pen and paper for that guy. I hope someday I will get that opportunity.
That'd be
But yeah, that's a story for another time.
'cause he's a hell of a talent. I mean,
Love
people
him.
say people can criticize his in-ring work. I see that on a daily basis, but I don't think call me old-fashioned, but I don't think you have to be an amazing in-ring five-star flippy wrestler to be a good wrestler. It's
Yeah.
maybe 20% of the recipe. If you can
Yep.
just be competent in the ring and safe, which he is, I think the rest of it comes down to character work understanding your character, being involved in good stories, knowing how to react to the fans, all of those things, the mic work, the look, the presence, everything else that goes into being a pro wrestler. And I think he ticks all of those other boxes very well. Like you said, hopefully he'll get the chance to work somewhere else. And I mean, icing on the cake if you get to write for him yourself, right? That would be amazing. If ever I see Karrion Kross in the future and he's doing anything, I'll be like, hey, wait a minute, Ryan, are you writing for Karrion Kross right now?
Wait, why is everyone breaking out into song all of a sudden?
He got a new character called the Whistleblower Karrion Kross.
Who are the men in black? I love this new faction.
That would be the sign that you're writing for WWE.
Yes, it would.
I'd know it.
Yep. That'll be between you and me. Yep.
Yeah, I won't blow the whistle on that one.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, like I said, the reason I ask is SummerSlam, maybe not Karrion's best performance in total, but I think again he even showed like the character work was still there. I loved his little mini feud with Sammy.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know if it, as much as I say it's not real, no, sorry, as much as I say it is real, that with the Karrion Kross situation, there's a part of me where I'm still thinking, this might be work.
Could be.
We've been proven, with the R-Truth situation and Seth Rollins recently. I don't know what's real anymore. And you know what? I don't hate that. I like not knowing. Like I said, it's who knows? He might be working us, but I don't think I'd be angry if I found out he was. How would you feel if you found out now that Karrion Kross was working us the whole time?
So this is what I love about this new, what do they call the new era?
Kayfabe.
Yeah. Is, it is more real than ever. We just got this Unreal series that came out. Fantastic. I highly suggest people watch it, little peek behind the curtain. And the lines are so blurred nowadays that I feel like anything can happen. And with the Karrion Kross thing, the only thing that makes me feel like this is 100% not a work is he did an interview that came out, I think, just yesterday with Hawani, is it? Yeah.
Hawani, yeah.
And he said, I'm not, this is not my character. I am done. Like, this is not a work. I can guarantee you that. And he spilled his heart out, man. Like,
he did.
So if he's doing that, and this is all a work, it's gonna look really bad for people like Hawani, who has a big audience.
It would.
Promotes the hell out of these wrestlers. He won't trust wrestlers going forward. And it's a very fine line WWE is treading right now, where they're not even telling other talent when things are real or not.
Yeah.
And that's an issue in some ways. It could kind of it could create a mistrust in the locker room or with the creatives, and get really messy. But at the same time, when you see the outcome and you see the revenue it immediately generates, the social media currency we live in now as well, they might be willing to be like, it's okay. That's okay. I just got 1 million views on my reaction to that work. So
yeah, I mean, when you look at the amount of views Karrion Kross has on his own videos in the last month, he got 750,000 views in one day. So people are interested, I feel like WWE is trying to find a new way to reinvent kayfabe, and they're like, right, everyone knows it's a work, everyone knows wrestling isn't real, but let's make the stuff in the back kayfabe now. Like they're trying to invent this new kayfabe where we don't know what's real in the backstage, and we know what we see in the ring's fake, but in the back, that's where it's now kayfabed. It's so weird. We don't know what's going on.
Weird.
It's so weird, but it kind of works. And like you said, the great Unreal series, I thought even parts of this are a work. When you're watching that series, you're like, they're only showing us what they want to show us. They're not showing us everything. But they're showing us enough where a casual viewer might watch this and go, this is really interesting. I might check this out. I might actually watch an episode of Raw. Or SmackDown or NXT. But for us, being hardcore fans, we watch it and go, all right, this is interesting. But like, is that real? Is that real? Like, where it messes with your head, I think, as a wrestling fan. But I do love it. Like I said, I'd rather not know what's happening than know everything that's happening. And that's in ufology too. Because if I had the chance to find out all of the cases, like Bigfoot's real, aliens are real, there's an afterlife, I'd say I don't want to know. I prefer not to know. I like the chasing of the story,
Ah,
finding
love
out
that.
things, than actually finding it out, if that makes sense.
I cannot agree more. The one thing I always tell people is I don't think we're ever going to know the true answer to the UFO phenomenon. There's
Mhm.
probably 100 million different answers for every UFO case.
Yeah,
And even if we get those answers, I don't think we're necessarily gonna like them. A
yeah,
lot of them too. And again, you put it perfectly that wrestling and UFOs, like you and I enjoy both of these things because we live in the mystery. It
yeah,
shows us that in wrestling, like there's these bigger than life people out there, these superheroes who are settling the score in the ring and sometimes outside of the ring. In ufology, there's these eh, things visiting our planet allegedly that are not from here, that are non-human, that are interdimensional, that are whatever.
yeah.
Bigfoot's flying a UFO. I don't know. Like insert mystery here, and it makes you look at the world a different way, and it makes you truly believe there are things out there
Larger than
that are
life.
larger than life, and
Yeah.
that's what we love about
Oh,
both of
what
these
a
things.
beautiful way to wrap up those two halves of the show, right? We've just brought it full circle
Yep.
and seen the commonalities between pro wrestling and ufology. And
Yeah.
it's because it's larger than life. It's unexplained. It's, big characters in the communities. You've even got gimmicks in the communities. It's
Yeah.
very more similar than you realize.
Dude, we have a cage match. Lou Elizondo, Stephen Greer. Let's go.
Oh,
Settle this once and for all.
I'd pay so much money for that.
Yeah.
Hell in a Cell.
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, Hell in a
Yes.
Cell. No escape.
No.
You mentioned Bigfoot, and I've got to ask you this before we wrap up,
Mhm.
Ryan, because Jamie was going to ask you. Me and Jamie, when we lived together, we almost came to blows over Bigfoot because
Oof. That's what did it, huh? Not
yeah,
who did the dishes, who didn't do the dishes.
Bigfoot. We used to watch
Got it.
Finding Bigfoot, and Jamie is a huge Bigfoot guy.
Okay.
Loves Bigfoot. And I say, I don't think the Patterson Gimlin footage is real. I'm not a Bigfoot guy. I think it's a man in a suit. Ryan, are you a Bigfoot guy?
It's hard, man, because I do believe there are things out there that we just haven't discovered yet or
Mhm.
have remained hidden for centuries at this point. So I think it's very scientifically possible for a hominid of some sort to have gone unnoticed for that long.
Yeah,
But my big thing always, this will be the skeptical side, is how have we never found a body?
thank you. That was that was my main argument with Jamie.
But
Don't, because
but
that when they die, they take the dead bodies through a portal.
I love it. I love it.
How
I
convenient.
Okay. I love
Yeah.
well, I wasn't gonna say portal, but I was gonna say, like, maybe they're interdimensional. Maybe they can hop in and out of existence,
Oh,
blink
he's
and
gonna love you when he watches
ah.
it. I told you. I told you they were real. If Ryan says they're real, they're real.
Oh my gosh, please do not take my opinion on Bigfoot. You can barely take my opinion on UFOs, man, because I do like to stress to everybody there's no experts in any of this stuff wrestling, UFOs, ghosts. All of us are just stumbling through all of this and trying to learn. We're born into a world of uncertainty. We don't know why we're here. We don't know what's really going on or why we see the same colors and
But isn't
hear the
that
same
amazing,
things.
right?
Yeah, yeah. It's
But
beautiful. It's beautiful.
life is stranger than sci-fi.
Yep, yep,
The world we live in is stranger than any film we could make, and I
exactly.
think that's beautiful. We could live in a world where there's no mysteries, where we know all the answers. That would suck. We wouldn't even be talking right now.
Yeah.
How boring would that be?
Oh my
But
god, man. No,
it
not a world I want to live in. That's why I love wrestling. That's why I love UFOs
and playwriting because you can make
and
your own
playwriting.
worlds.
Exactly.
Ryan, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Like I said, it's someone I've wanted to speak to you for a while. It would be great to get you back on in the future when we've got Jamie with us. I think we could probably do an hour on ufology and an hour on wrestling in the future. we are actually looking to bring back our like paranormal cryptid kind of podcast called Uncanny Valley.
Nice.
We'd probably get you on as a guest on that as well. I'm trying to separate the two so we can just have wrestling guests on here and everything else on Uncanny Valley. It'd be great to get you as a guest on both. Maybe even our first guest for Uncanny Valley. But yeah, it would be great to speak to you again in the future. But before we go, I know I know you've had some news with the podcast recently, new start for Somewhere in the Skies. Would you like to tell everyone about it? Promote absolutely anything you want.
Oh, thanks so much, man. And yes, of course, I will come back anytime on any show. This has been an absolute blast. Um, so yeah, Somewhere in the Skies has been going for about 8.5 years now, and I've been with the same network for most of that time, and it's been incredible. But just like anything, you got to shake it up. That's why we're in a new era of WWE. So I have decided to work with a new network that reached out to me, and that is Spectre Vision, which is primarily a film company that is run by an awesome guy named Daniel Noah and actor Elijah Wood, who most people know as Frodo from Lord of the Rings. But he's crazy into the paranormal and UFOs and yeah, so him and Daniel, they make these crazy kind of cosmic movies. All of them seem to have like Nicolas Cage in them for some reason, which is hilarious. But yeah, they've done a ton of different movies, but they decided to get into the podcasting game, and they started a new endeavor this week, actually, as we're recording this, of over 50 podcasts in the esoteric, the occult, UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot, even. And movies, all of that. And they're bringing it into a new era of podcasting in that's video form. So the days of just audio podcasting are they're kind of out at this point, and people are ready for something new. So what they're striving to do is to bring a very compelling, engaging visual aspect to a lot of these audio podcasts, and they're working directly with Spotify to do that. So we do feel like we're on the kind of the precipice of something new when it comes to podcasting. And I feel so honored that they asked me to become a part of it. So yes, that is my long-winded way of saying nothing changes about my podcast other than the people basically housing it. It's my WWE. I'm the independent contractor, as it were. And I'm super excited to start with them.
Congratulations, though. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks, man. Again, like it's just an honor. And yeah, the podcast's every Monday, Somewhere in the Skies. You can find it wherever you get your show. And then I've written a couple books on UFOs if anyone's interested in hearing hundreds of stories.
Somewhere in the Skies.
That's it. Yep. Just look that up as well. And then I do the wrestling podcast every Wednesday, Somewhere in the Ring. So I've created the Somewhere universe, as it were.
The Somewhere cinematic universe.
Yes. We even have, speaking of which, we do have a movie podcast we just started called
Somewhere on the Screen.
On the Screen. Yes. Thanks, man. Thank you. Hosted by 3 really good film buff friends of mine. So yeah, you can find all of that wherever you find my show, or just go to thespu.com, the Somewhere Podcast Universe.
Love it. Ryan, like I said, it's been a pleasure. We'll get you back on soon. Until next time, we've been Ringsiders. This is Ryan Sprague from Somewhere in the Skies, Somewhere in the Ring, and way too many other things to list. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.